In Death Stars 1 and 2, the Emperor and the Galactic Empire that he formed had in its possession the ultimate weapon, one that had the ability to destroy an entire planet. The destructive power of these Death Stars would allow the Empire to continue to rule through terror, and give it the ability to remove any planet or system that rebelled against the Emperor.
Just for reference, this is Star Wars Reading Club 7 years ago.
However, following the Battle of Yavin and the Battle of Endor 4 years later, the Empire had lost both of its two Death Stars, and in the case of Death Star 2, the Emperor and Darth Vader with it. With the destruction of these battle stations, the Empire's potential to rule through technological terror had been abolished. But did the Empire or its remnants ever build a third Death Star following the destruction of Death Star 2? Or did Emperor Palpatine ever plan to build a Death Star 3 as a contingency in case the rebels were once again able to decimate the second battle station?
That is a better phrasing of the question, is that was there a Death Star 3? Because technically, there's the prototype Death Star that they built inside the research institution in the Maw cluster. So the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi would actually be the third one that was built, even though the prototype was very basic and wasn't all fleshed out like the other two.
In this video expose, I will describe how a third Death Star was constructed by the remnant of the Empire following the Battle of Endor, and explain how Death Star 3 was ultimately destroyed by the rebels like its two predecessors. After Palpatine reorganized the Republic into the Galactic Empire and ruled the galaxy as its emperor, the Empire manufactured and constructed a number of worldcrafts. These worldcrafts were large artificial spheres that were designed to serve as a residence for numerous individuals, and which had the ability to travel through both real space and hyperspace. Commissioned personally by the Emperor, the worldcrafts were provided as gifts to his most loyal and devoted servants, as a reward for their service to the Empire. Prior to the Battle of Endor and the Emperor's death, the Emperor intended to reward a worldcraft each to two worthy individuals serving the Empire, Moff Ardis Kane and Enix Deviant. An assassin in the employ of the Empire during the early days of the Galactic Civil War against the rebels, Deviant, a human male, ultimately became the Emperor's personal assassin and was even trained by Darth Vader. For his efforts and devotion to the Empire, a worldcraft was commissioned for him and had started to be constructed within the orbit of Coruscant. However,
I haven't got this far with the comics yet. So, this is obviously a comic panel from, where am I up to? I think it's only just after A New Hope that I'm up to, so a lot of this is, well, I'm just getting my information firsthand now, so.
Within the orbit of Coruscant. However, with the Emperor's death at the Battle of Endor, Deviant quickly decided to steal the worldcraft that would have ultimately become his, in addition to stealing the unfinished worldcraft commissioned for Moff Kane. Although both worldcrafts had not yet been completed, they were still capable of being sent through space. As such, Deviant sent each one to two opposite ends of the galaxy within the Outer Rim, one to the Spawn Nebula and one to the Model Sector. Deviant then converted one of the worldcrafts into a battle station that closely resembled the Empire's previous two Death Stars. Although it's not fully known what the capabilities of this newly converted worldcraft were, the battle station did have an armed super laser similar to Death Stars 1 and 2.
I'll explain why I don't know it. I haven't read the Crystal Star. I haven't read through Adventure Journal 8, but then also those couple of ones are retcons. And I haven't read the best of Classic Adventures Journal Volume 4 for the West End stuff. And of course I haven't read through all of the different sources here. But like, I'm up to Survivor's Quest in the novels. So I'm actually not far off the Crystal Star now. I've got, if I skip the ones that I already read. Yeah, so after Survivor's Quest, I have 5 novels, and then I'm going to be reading The Crystal Star, which is infamous. Anyway. For reference of why I'm not as familiar with it. I know what I know.
As well as a host of turbo laser defenses. Further, Death Star 3 was similar enough in its appearance and capabilities when compared to its 2 predecessors that the Alliance of Free Planets, the initial government formed by the rebels after the Battle of Endor, strongly believed that the Empire had yet another Death Star in its possession. Although Death Star 3 was not fully completed before it was discovered by the rebels a few months following the Battle of Endor, it was close to finalization, and resembled the more whole and completed Death Star 1 than the incomplete Death Star 2. When the Alliance of Free Planets discovered the battle station only a few months after the destruction of Death Star 2, they formed a strike force tasked with destroying it, thereby launching the Battle of Death Star 3 near the planet of Endor. During the battle, a similar weakness was found in Death Star 3 that had existed in the first Death Star, namely, a clear path to the battle station's main reactor through a thermal exhaust port. After the rebel starfighters made a successful trench run and fired proton torpedoes into the thermal exhaust port, the fighters withdrew from the battle station as Death Star 3 was destroyed. Although they had once again destroyed the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Alliance of Free Planets' perceived victory in the Battle of Death Star 3 was only fleeting, and vanished when it was realized that Deviant used the battle station as a diversion. While the Battle of Death Star 3 was being fought, Deviant's forces hijacked a significant number of warships and vessels from Alliance shipyards, thereby expanding his fleet. While the third Death Star was destroyed, Deviant's expanded forces, in addition to the second world craft that was still unknown to the Alliance in the Outer Rim, which he used to repair and restore his fleet, would ensure that he remained a powerful threat to the forces of the New Republic. So there we have it, how Death Star 3 was constructed and ultimately destroyed only a few months after the Battle of Endor. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me, for needing a better way to defend these things.
Oh, wow. You know also why I don't know about this Death Star 3 thing? Star Tours. Man, there's so much obscure stuff. But that makes sense it was Star Tours, because if it was a plot in a book, it would be so much of... This is just another Death Star. So Star Tours was a Disney simulator ride theme park attraction located at Disneyland in California. And it took you along, it was a ride, basically, at Disneyland. And that's the only way to experience the story, as intended. Of course, the non-canon appearances. Yes, Legends. Millennium Falcon is, one of those. There's also appeared on the Disney Cruise Line, launched in 2010. And then the other things, first appearance was George Lucas' Star Tours. Yeah, so it's in the promotional film by the Walt Disney Company to advertise Star Tours. And it also has appearance in Tiny Death Star, a mobile game, which just basically has a bunch of references in it. As for the other stuff, I haven't read through these. Like, Some of them are even retcons in the sources. Shusaka goes, what would I have been more likely to? I do want to read through the Star Wars Insiders at one point. That will be a big thing. A Death Star timeline. First identified as the third Death Star. By Leland Chi, of course. And, yeah. It's retconned that the appearance in articles and stuff. Well, it really doesn't mention it. It would mention another Death Star, like, super weapon type thing, and then that would have been retconned as a reference to the third Death Star. So we have the canonical Death Star timeline, which Walt Disney Star Tours. And look, Darksaber Project. Or it should be the Crystal Star, because then they would have mentioned... That would be the super laser from it that was mentioned. Yeah. Well, no wonder I'm not familiar with it, because it's like Star Tours and stuff surrounding it. I've never actually read stuff about it, other than sort of knowing it exists. Yeah, in the Tiny Death Star, random HoloNet entry states that one of the residents of the Death Star is simply staying there until he can afford to stay at the Death Star 3. Yeah. And it was later confirmed as canon in History of Star Tours. So even... That's the thing as well, even a theme park ride is canon.